to South Africa now, where the number of rhinos being poached dropped last year for the first time since 2007. It's being put down to increased policing and combat operations. One private anti-poaching unit, which has had considerable success, is the Black Mambas. It's a group made up entirely of women who live in communities bordering the Kruger National Park.
I love nature. Since when I was high school, I fell in love with nature. The rhino means a lot in my life. I see rhino as an animal that deserves to live. Every day when I woke up going to patrol the fence, I walk with that happiness that people can see us. They won't get inside our reserve. They will know that inside the reserve there is people that are working every day. It's a nice thing working inside the reserve because you will develop that life of the animals. It was 2012 when I first see the rhinos at bush school. So that time I felt that I have to fight for the rhinos. It was my first time seeing a dead rhino. It was painful, deep down to my heart. It's hard to forget, and it's hard to look at that dead rhino. It is painful, scary, but it was the first time in 2015 inside our reserve, and it was the last time. We won't rest until we catch that poachers, because we will fight for the rhinos. We will fight for wild animals. To be a Black Mamba, it changed my life a lot. Because now I know who I am. Now I can fight for everything that I have. Because I have that love inside my heart of the rhinos. So I'm proud to be a black young woman doing anti-poaching. This is our nature. Even our children want to see it. They want to see the real rhinos, not the pictures. I have hope that we can win this battle.
Well, Craig Spencer is the man who founded the Black Mambas. He joins us live from Hoedspruit near the Kruger National Park. Good morning, Craig.
Good morning.
Morning, Craig. Why did you form the Black Mambas?
Well, in 2013, when the rhino poaching sort of hit our part of the reserve, which is open to the Kruger National Park, we needed some different tools in our toolbox, some different angle. Throwing the same old rusty tools at the same old job, machine guns and militarizing our game ranger corps hadn't worked in the past. It had just sort of slowed it down a little bit, so we needed a different intervention.
I think
that makes sense.
I think it's very interesting that they're not armed, whereas poachers traditionally are heavily armed. So how has that approach helped?
We tried to model our anti-poaching unit on the British policing model. So the first level of defense is the bobbies on the beat, so to speak. And that's always been what's lacking, in our opinion. We needed that early detection, the eyes and ears, the visual policing, and somebody with a nurturing attitude, somebody who actually cared more about the rhinos than trying to catch poachers. So, we'd rather prevent the rhinos from dropping to the poacher's bullets than wait for the poacher to shoot the rhino so that we've got a strong case in court. As a conservationist, our job is actually to protect them, not to catch poachers. So, the Black Mambas added a different dimension, something that we never had before. It meant that we could also deploy our armed guards more appropriately to protect the assets if the poachers did slip through the nets.
So when you went into these communities and approached these women, what was their response initially?
Yeah, it's quite sad. We had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of applications. It's obvious that there's a huge unemployment problem in the communities adjacent to the park. You put out an advertisement for whatever it is, and thousands of people will apply for the job, not quite knowing what they were getting themselves in for. And then, of course, during the training procedure, then a lot of them fall off the bus and so on. But, the ones that were selected at the end, the 26 that were selected for the training, not a single one of them dropped off the training. And I think it gave them a sense of pride, a sense of belonging, a purpose.
And Craig, what sort of a response have the Black Mambas had? What sort of a success level have they had? And can you quantify it?
Yeah, I think, for us it was quite an eye-opener to see exactly just how much antisocial behavior we had, both inside the park and in what we call the buffer zone around the park in the tribal lands. The bushmeat industry, the snaring, illegal camps, the people coming and going through the porous boundary fences and whatever. That was quite a shock to us. We didn't actually have a handle on that. And that was the first task of the Black Mambas. They used their own initiative and they went out and they pushed all of that antisocial, what we call antisocial behavior, outside of the park, well beyond the boundaries of the park, burnt down the poachers' camps, discovered the areas where they were coming in and out, what their modus operandis were, little things like they need to have cell phone reception to be able to contact their pickup vehicle when they get back outside the park. That's where the areas where, the hotspots where you need to concentrate your efforts. The snaring issue, we were losing as many animals to poachers' snares than we were to the poachers' bullets. In fact, we probably lost more high-value or endangered species to snaring, non-selective poaching methods. And the fact that we had people living inside the reserve in little bush camps and things that you couldn't detect with a helicopter or anything like that because of the density of the vegetation. And the poachers rooted all of this out. They also became quite sort of aware of the behavior of the animals as well. So they knew which animals were using which water holes, when they were most vulnerable on the landscape, and therefore where to focus their attention. So yeah, to answer your question, in the beginning, before we deployed the Black Mambas, in the first few months when the poachers discovered our rhino population, we lost 19 animals. They dropped like dominoes. We couldn't keep up with the autopsies and the crime reports. Very shortly thereafter, we gave ourselves until, that was in April, and we gave ourselves until March, April, May, September. Gave ourselves until September to deploy. And after deployment, we relaxed, and after 13 months, we hadn't lost a single rhino. Since then, in the 3.5 years, we've only lost 7, whereas our neighbors have taken quite a hit. So we've actually just displaced the problem elsewhere. But at least I can say in our neck of the woods, no more animals have been lost to snares, and no more animals have been lost to poachers.
Now, Craig, you're a private citizen. Why is the government not dealing with this? Why do you have to do it?
Yeah, it's quite a challenge. To have a 3-leveled approach to anti-poaching, I think, is a luxury item that we can afford in the private sector. We get a small subsidy from the South African National Parks Board, who are our neighbors to the east and to the south. But the rest of the money, we have to raise it ourselves through fundraising events and so on, a lot of donor funding, a lot of intervention from the public, both overseas and locally. And I just don't think the government has the mechanism for what they would call a luxury item. Whereas we believe it's an essential. And also we must remember that the Black Mambas, 50% of their job is on the reserve. The other 50% is off the reserve, back in their communities, working with the people, working in the schoolrooms. They look after the sick and the poor and the needy and the children and what have you. And it's essential that we have that component as well. We need to build up a sort of almost like a French resistance in the communities against the poachers to break this Robin Hood attitude that the poachers are heroes and the park is the sort of Sherwood Forest.
Okay, Craig Spence talking to us from Hoedspruit, the founder of the Black Mambas. Thank you very much.